Hello and welcome to Moving Forward, a podcast by GoodHabitz. I'm your host, Aimee Clarke. In this podcast, we make sure you get all the insights you need to build a high-performing learning culture to future-proof your organization. Whether you're an HR professional, a learning and development manager, or anyone looking to give your team a leg up, you'll learn the trends and tricks to get your people learning and moving forward. In each episode, we invite an expert or two to unpack some key statements designed to get them sharing their best insights. And today, we're talking about how to keep learning top of mind for employees. Many organizations know learning and development is vital, but how do they convince their people? To help me unpack this, I'd like to welcome Polly Ivanova and Oliver Hahn. Welcome. Please introduce yourselves and tell us why you're here. Starting with you, Polly.
Thank you very much, Aimee. I'm very happy to be here. A really great vibe here in the studio already. I feel it. I'm very excited. So at Puma, I am taking care of digital learning, both for retail and corporate worlds. It's a really exciting job to bring something digital into real life of people. So
Quite a challenge.
Quite a challenge, but interesting challenge.
Looking forward to hearing your insights. And Oliver?
Hey, nice to be here as well. I am leading GoodHabitz in Poland, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, but actually working in learning since 12 years now. So happy to be here, and that topic is very important, I agree.
And when you say working with GoodHabitz, my understanding is that you really help organizations build a learning culture. Am I understanding that correctly?
True. Many people misunderstand GoodHabitz as a content provider, but actually we do much more.
Brilliant. Okay, super. So as you've heard, the structure of our episode is we have a couple of statements that I'm going to pose to you. Feel free to disagree, agree, say what you like. We're going to kick off with the first one. The statement is, learning and development teams should act more like marketing teams. What do you think about this? Who wants to go first?
I can definitely jump into it right now.
Let's
because
go.
That's my passion. And I have a great example what we have built up at Puma since 5 good years.
Mm-hmm.
At the very beginning, we were wondering how to bring learning closer to our people, how to make it more exciting. And we realized that we shouldn't be just HR or just a function. We want to be a very sexy, attractive, easy to reach service provider. We are service provider. Yes, we are HR people, but we are beyond HR. We want to be the service partner, and then we decided to create our own internal brand. And we said, okay, everyone should know our team. Our team should be attracted. Everyone should know what are we doing, what are we offering. And we decided to go crazy and create our own internal brand. And we said, okay, what's the name of our team? Training and development? No. We are Learn at Puma team.
Oh, nice.
We have our own logo. We collaborated with employer branding teams. They created an approved official logo for us. We said logo is not enough. We want more. So we developed together with them as well banners, email templates, everything what makes us recognizable from outside of HR department, and what we can use also for internal communication to stick out. And it works, and we even end up creating our own merchandise as well. Our team has our own T-shirts, and we are spreading them among learners to say, do you want to be a part of Learn at Puma? Here, you have learned a lot. Here's a T-shirt. So we really created a brand, and now we are not perceived as, hey, HR team has something to share, but hey, Learn at Puma team has something exciting.
That's amazing. I just love that. I mean, you created a strong brand in the company. For just a second before we give Oliver the microphone, I want to just give a bit of context about Puma as a company itself, because I think many people will recognize the brand itself. Can you just give us a bit more background about who are your employees? Obviously, it's retail. A bit more about that.
Definitely, that's a good point. So basically, we are serving employees worldwide. Both sides, retail and corporate. When I say corporate, I mean all our employees who work in offices worldwide. We are providing them with soft skills, with hard skills, onboarding, offboarding, language learning, everything around that. When we talk about retail, we are focusing more on product, on selling skills, of course, but we also don't forget about soft skills on sales floor as well. In total, at the moment, we have around about 20,000 employees worldwide, and we are taking care of each and every of them, and I will tell you later that we do it in a very special way, unique approach, and more or less 50-50 retail corporate distribution. The most interesting fact to know who are our people, our average age in the whole company is 32.
Oh,
Wow, young.
It's a really young crowd, and we need special ways to engage them for learning.
I cannot wait to dive more into that, but I'm also dying to hear from
Forever faster, no? 32, really impressed. I mean, your statement was L&D teams become more marketing teams, right? Or why is it
they
important?
should act more like marketing teams.
And I mean, in the end, I believe there are like several sides, but on the one hand, you spend money on development, right? And you want to make the best use out of the money you have invested into your people and into the tools of the learning development. On the other hand, we know about our society and how fast everything is nowadays and the attention of people, right? So, I mean, we see marketing and, measurements and stuff which grabs attention of people everywhere. And so therefore, I believe it's really important to not only roll out and buy learning, but also promote and connect learning to certain topics, So I believe that's a very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what also strikes me if we look at the comparison to a marketing team, I do have a bit of a background in marketing, was that also a good marketing team really believes in what they're promoting. And I do worry sometimes that learning and development is seen as like this checkbox saying, okay, we have a platform or, here's what you can learn. But if you really believe that what you're doing is beneficial or helping the customer, in this case, the employee, then it must make things a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit more about some specific things you've rolled out that have worked in your learner marketing journey?
There are many. There are many which didn't work as well.
Oh, well, we want to hear that too.
What is working? I think it's important to talk about it on spot. We will cover a couple of topics later as well, specifically, but we do on general, we do several formats. We do activations, physical and online ones worldwide. We conduct webinars where we also introduce the learning products which we are offering. And this also lands pretty well, and not many companies are doing it. So we are inviting everyone for 30 minutes webinar saying, hey, we have a new product, let us tell you about it so you know how to use it. I think this is something what many of colleagues sometimes are missing before rolling out. And expecting people to intuitively get to know the product, you need to give them a hand and guide them through and show them how easy to use the product, for example.
And when you say product, you mean like a learning and development
Learning
product, right?
offer.
Yes.
It can be e-learning, it can be training program, can be anything.
Whole portfolio.
The whole portfolio, yes. And we go like product by product from portfolio. Yeah. We also do challenges. We challenge employees. We bring a lot of competition into the game. We, most importantly, also do a lot in terms of recognition. So everyone who puts enough time or more than usual time into self-development and moving forward, we recognize them through certifications, through different awards. I can tell you later more about that. So we are trying to cover the whole learning cycle and to be there at every step, to guide them at the beginning by introducing the offer and explaining why this offer is here and how you can profit from it, and then guide them through all the steps of the cycle by engaging them, reminding them, bringing them into competition, but then also even in the end asking for their feedback, taking it serious, saying, okay, have you used the offer or not? Why not? So we are really reaching out for opinion as well. We are doing surveys, and in the end of the story, in the end of the cycle, we also recognize them for learning with this offer. And then if we are in every step of this cycle are there, present, this brings a lot of output.
Well, your framing as a service, I think, really drives that point home. You were there throughout the whole cycle. But something you said really struck me, and that's you explain why it's there. And I think this is sometimes where things go wrong. And it's early in the process. Oliver, have you had this experience, or what have you seen doesn't work in this field?
I mean, in the field of learning, it just doesn't work that you roll out something and you just let it stay there and you finger cross and hope that people will find it. First of all, I believe that's the very first barrier that I hear a lot of times from the industry, that the offer is there, but people don't know where to find it or where to find what in certain situations. And I believe that's the very first thing which normally is crucial, and people don't think about that. And then in the end, I mean, you touch a couple of points which are, I believe, very important. I believe we will speak about ambassadors as well, if we speak about engagement and learning, learner marketing. To really, build kind of a culture internally, and not just expect that people know what they should do, because they normally don't know. So I believe it's like an ecosystem, and I like that you had that idea to build the brand, to promote it. And there's actually a question which just came into my mind, because in the end it's kind of a department within HR. And HR, in the end, is also responsible to attract new people. So if you build a brand for learning internally, is that also maybe a little bit hint or linked to attract people for working for Puma in the end as well?
It definitely resonates. Then it has a bigger footprint than we thought at the beginning. We also communicate a lot to outside. Each of us individually through LinkedIn, for example, also spreading word. And we have candidates who are applying and say, oh, I saw your post. I know what you're offering. And it also brings people in. But we also then actively reaching out to employ a branding team and collaborate with them and say, okay, what is on our website? Have you communicated what are we offering? And we are in really great collaboration. And if you go to our career webpage for all the candidates, you will see a separate dedicated page telling candidates what is Puma offering in terms of learning. And we believe that it has a huge footprint what we do, as you say, not only internally, but even externally, because having, as you say, it's an investment and it should bring you back as much as possible. You should take it all out of it, and even maybe more than you put into it in the beginning. And if we can get best candidates on the market for us just by creating the best possible learning offer, super.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Was there a moment when you started everything where you maybe had also some kind of barriers internally, maybe from especially leadership, because we normally see also that leaderships not always understand the importance of learning?
Good question. Definitely, yes. We didn't have a barrier from management side. Luckily, management is very engaging and very supporting. But general from the whole folk, from the whole crowd, being so outgoing and crazy in promoting a part of HR team, it at the beginning was kind of weird. And they were saying, this girl running around in her learning t-shirt, look at her. But now after 5 years, everyone knows that yellow is our color. Everything what you can see in the building yellow, it's about learning. Okay. And if you see logo, you know it's only our logo. If you see certain faces, you know these faces talk about learning, like talking about ambassadors. At the beginning, it took us time, of course, as any process has its curve. And we were resistant and brave enough with my colleague back then to keep on doing it and not being like, okay, it's weird, maybe not, it doesn't land. We just continued. And it was completely worth it.
And was there a moment where you actually decided that? I mean, can you remember that? Or was it just a natural flow, a process?
More natural flow, a process. I always say in many keynotes and exchanges with different peers in this industry, I always say experiment. It starts with small and weird experiments when I all of a sudden came and said, let's print t-shirts for our team. And of course, first reaction was like, For whom? For 2 people? But in the end, even learners were reaching out and saying, can I have a t-shirt with Learn at Puma? It happens, but after 4 years. So at the beginning, we just needed to experiment, try. Something worked out, something didn't work out. Now we know what works. And also the biggest learning out of this was that there is no universal solution, and something works on certain target groups, something works on other target groups. And even though we have average age of 32, we also have completely different target groups inside of our company, and we need to approach them differently. We can talk later about it.
Oh yeah, I'm really curious to know about that, because in the age group myself, as of literally next week, I'll be 32, I've thought a lot about how companies can position themselves with their learning offer. But we'll get there in a second, because for now, it's time to move on to our second statement. Yes, which is learning only works when connected to real-world tasks. Oliver, what do you think?
No, I believe that's true. I mean, you cannot expect learners to learn without knowing why to learn it. So I believe there's always the importance to link it to maybe the values of the company, maybe like some terms of projects or like seasonal stuff, in order to make them understand why that could actually be a good idea to engage and to learn. The best thing obviously is to link it to that, to their work, to what they actually do.
Context is everything.
Of course. That's for sure true.
Yeah. Okay, if I can offer something, it struck me that this is not how it's approached in school. You know, you learn, it's very theoretical.
True.
And I think the benefit actually of learning in adulthood is that you have experience to tie it to. I'm actually busy working on some content right now about what it means to go back to school as an adult. And if you stop thinking about just your nose in a book, I think it does change things. But what's been your experience? Because I also hear you saying you're really responsible for the digital learning, and how real world do we get with that?
Very good one. We really stick to 10-20-70 rule, and we believe in this. What is 10-20-70? Basically, 10% you learn theoretically with your nose in a book or e-learning or training. 20% you need support on the way and explanations, and the rest 70% is only practice. It should be relevant, it should be in the context, it should make sense, you should have answer why, as you also mentioned. That's very important. Yes, we are promoting no matter digital or non-digital learning offers, and mostly we actively promote digital offer because people are hesitant accessing digital offer because everyone wants to go to classroom. Everyone wants to be there. But to bring people into digital learning, from my perspective, is double harder because they are not having a trainer standing behind their back and saying, please open page number 12. They need to motivate themselves. They need to find time themselves. They have to manage themselves. They have to also give themselves feedback. How was my learning and what did I take? And 80% of people just give up after first experience and say, nah, e-learning, not for me.
Not for me.
And then that's why we really try to support on spot. And as you say, to bring it into reality and connect it to real processes in business as well. If we all know that January and February is appraisal time, that's where we come from the corner with our offer on appraisal talks. And we say how to conduct appraisal talks, how to attend appraisal talks, how to give feedback, how to receive feedback. And we go all around this topic. We know we have our calendar, by the way. For every month, we know what will be happening and which courses we will
like any good marketing campaign. You've got it down.
As a great separate service provider, we should have it. So we have our calendar and we know, okay, January, February, appraisal time. I am really into opening Google and searching for weird dates. For example, every year we have Brain Day, we have World Mental Health Day, we have World Learning Languages Day.
Oh, nice.
So we are picking even the kind of holidays which are worldwide known, but not yet well celebrated to bring attention of people and relevance of people to certain topics. And then we connect these dates with e-learning content. And we say, okay, today is World Brain Day, then go and do this e-learning. And for example, next week will be World AI Awareness Day.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And in collaboration with our IT team, we reached out to them and say, okay, there is AI Day. Do you want to do something? They say, okay, why not? And then they promote their information and we promote our courses around AI.
That's smart.
And also collaborating with different departments helps a lot to bring more relevance.
I really, really like that because it's not just on one department then to help people learn. And what are your views on this?
First of all, you probably gave the IT auch some yellow shirts, right? Then, in order to convince them, no? No, I mean, I just thought about, when you do stuff like that, to, as we said, link it and find relevance. That's really, really good. I thought about what you said in the beginning. Global company, you are like a specialized team. Is it then one standardized campaign for around a world, or because learning in the world is, I believe, different. There's a different value for learning. I believe in our Western society, learning, it has like a lower worth than probably in Asia or maybe in Eastern Europe, I guess.
Indeed.
So my question is more like, if you plan it and if you have your agenda, your roadmap, is there a difference, or how do you approach people also? Like, do they recognize that in a different way?
Definitely. Very good question to the point. From the beginning on, we decided not to be the ones who are saying to our regional partners what to do. So just to bring in more context, yes, we are a global team taking care of learning and development. And in every region or country, we have certain people in organization partner, more generalists.
Your ambassadors.
Who are taking care of all HR topics, and learning is one of them.
Okay.
In bigger regions, we have learning and development specialists sitting there on spot. And the choice at the beginning was how to proceed, to give them everything ready and to say only follow this and don't move left or right, or to give them freedom. And yes, agree with you that every country and every culture looks at learning differently. And access to learning is also different in every country. There are countries which are so hungry for learning and they are eager to grab anything what we are offering. And there are countries where people are, sorry to say, but really spoiled because access to learning is so broad and rich. That for them it's so normal, and they're really, sorry to say, but lazy to touch it. They think, it's always there. I will do it next week. That's why we decided to approach it differently. We are centralized creating marketing materials, also sometimes in different languages, and we spread marketing materials on our channel to all the partners worldwide. Most of the files are also open files, so they can translate them or adapt to local context, because sometimes it's more strict, like Asia is more strict, it's more competitive, everyone has to complete everything. In Europe, it's like nice if you would do it format. So they have freedom to run their own campaigns, but in similar direction. So we see them using our posters or our marketing materials, but bringing their own twist and spice into it.
I love that you're talking about this, because actually we have an episode we did about localization in learning content. So if anyone listening now who wants to know more about localization, head over to that episode with Maria, our head of localization. But what about you? It does differ between countries. Have you noticed any specific trends?
I mean, since I'm looking into our central region, it's kind of one trend, because we are in the Western society, German, also Switzerland, there is not a big difference, although culturally a little bit. I'm just starting to learn a little bit more about Poland, which I find interesting, because Poland, I believe, is again more hungry for learning. I believe, like knowledge is important in order to grow and to maybe make a career. So I believe if you speak about trends in learning or in learning marketing, as I said, I believe we are about to pass the COVID mistakes. That's what I see, that everybody needed to react in terms of learning / digital learning, virtual learning because of COVID, and they reacted. Sometimes in a smart and good way, and sometimes in a not so smart and maybe very fast way. And right now we see still corrections of that, and that for me is the trend. If you want to have it in short words, is maybe less quantity and more quality, and that's a trend in our society here.
That's very interesting. You know, whenever I think about those employers that jump to offer opportunities during COVID online, I always think, you know, damn good choice. But of course, you're right, that haste must have caused a bit of, potentially not the most well-aligned programs. And now you've got to go back and, reverse, this is great, first attempt, but like the first pancake's a flop. Let's try again. Thanks for your insights there. It's time to move on to our third statement for the day, which is something you touched on a bit earlier. Recognition for employees' learning efforts is essential. Well.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Definitely. And it also started with an experiment. And we were giggling about it. We were like, let's try it. That will be fun. We didn't take it serious. And I mean our top learner recognition. 4 years ago, shortly after we established the brand and started to be recognized, we thought, okay, we see people like to compete and receive the certificates, rewards, whatever it is. We were like, Then one day we were like, top learner. All of a sudden. And we were like, okay, let's try quarter. So we tried first quarter. We said 3 months. We just pull down the report. We see it worldwide, top 1% of most active learners. Okay, we did it. We created a super sexy certificate. We created a ceremony award. It's just 15 minutes, so we're not taking much time from people, but they get a chance, for example, to get a certificate from the hands of our P&O director and have a picture with him on our bridge, and it's such a special moment. We did it once, people liked it, we posted, we spread the word, and then second quarter, third quarter, and so on and so forth. And it's been 4 years, and it started to be really hype last year when two people stopped me on the bridge and told me, Polly, I want to be top learner, what should I do?
Oh, nice.
And I was like, damn, yeah, it works. It took us time as well. It was an amazing experiment and it's running super good. There are countries who adopted it locally as well. So they participate in a global top learner count, but they also do local top learners. They say top learner UK or top learner Poland or top learner. And it really multiplied, and we see that it lands. I also think by our target group it lands well, by more younger crowd and more informal corporate culture. And people are even posting on their LinkedIn, because every time we share certificates, we say, please share with a certain hashtag top learner. And if we go to LinkedIn, we find certain row under this hashtag of people proudly standing with our certificates, both retail and corporate. And talking about being hungry for knowledge, corporate people are more spoiled. I mean, we have everything, and more than we need sometimes. But how hungry for knowledge retail talents are. This is incredible. And seeing retail people standing on a sales floor with a top learner certificate gives me every time goosebumps. Yep. And we know that we brought this knowledge to this hungry group, which really needs it, and it will help them to move forward. Is fantastic. We also do different types of recognitions. We do competitions as well. Every summer we have a Learn Olympics. We don't want to steal the word Olympics. It's not allowed. We also checked it as a good marketing team. We researched it, but we created Learn Olympics. And every summer we have Learn Olympics where people collect stamps on their scratch cards for every learning hour.
That's amazing.
And for 4 stamps, you get a coffee voucher. For 8 stamps, you get a lunch voucher. And for 12 stamps, you get a voucher for a bookstore.
This is really like any good loyalty program, basically.
And people keep participating. They come to HR desk. They say, I need a stamp. I need a stamp. I have one more course done. It's really great.
How many stamps do I need for a yellow shirt? That's missing. But you said something good, because the retail industry is kind of a footprint at GoodHabitz as well, and we normally see a trend that learning in that industry starts with the headquarters, or the white collars, as we normally say then. And I believe that's a mistake, because I agree there's a lot of talent in retail, in the shop floors, and for whatever reason, maybe it's the system, some requirements, budget, I don't know, workers' council. The retail is not always included in the very first place.
You know, can I actually make a comment there? Because this is something I have thought about quite a bit in terms of the delivery of learning content. Like when I'm writing an article, I'm assumed it's going to be accessed probably through a computer at someone's desk. And when it comes to writing that content, it's easy to angle it also to that person who's sitting by their computer. But it's easy to forget that there are these loads of people. What's the solution? Learning on their cell phones? Is that the solution? Or how do you go about it for the retail floor?
Both, mostly every retail, like every shop team has 2 to 3 laptops on sales floor. And in quiet hours, when store has just opened, or there are certain hours where there are no customers, one of the employees can go to the room and learn for a certain time, then come back to the sales floor, then another one can go. There are so many challenges, which of course make it much harder for retail employees to get this learning. That's why I'm still super driven to bring it closer to retail people, even though I know there are many hurdles. It is completely different working environment. Alone, in most of the companies, retail employees don't have even company email address, and you simply cannot access the system.
How do you trigger them, you know?
How do you bring them there? Luckily, for example, Bayaz, they can enter with ID number, and then through this shop laptops, they can access knowledge in this way. But again, stressing the retail topic, very crucial, really important. And I think focusing on the output, as we started the conversation today, how much we invest, ideally we should get out even more. Good candidates, good margin. Let's not forget, we talk about business and we need good margin, good performance, happy people, good retention, that people are not leaving. This all we can influence through the learning offer we give. And this is also important to realize, that it's not just giving knowledge, but it's creating the whole environment around, and the stability which people feel when they know I can move forward and learn with my company. So it's much more behind it.
Maybe one quick comment on that, because if you speak about recognition, and I love the ideas you do. I never heard about the bridge, but it sounds amazing. Would love to have a certificate. Yeah, we need to have a bridge as well. Would love to have a certificate as well. But I also believe recognition needs to come from the managers, from the leadership, because that's where they work from day to day. And also in global organizations, the bridge is probably in Herzogenaurach, right? It is important to also build a culture where the management gives recognition for learning. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
When you started talking about recognition, it's something that immediately crossed my mind. And also in terms of on-the-job learning and giving things context, how much do you involve the manager? And then after this, we need to move to the next stage.
Yeah. Very briefly about that, together with my colleague many years ago, we also thought about that. And we realized, yes, we are in 21st century, but it's still top to down very often. And it's very important how we involve management. And we started to do every half a year, 45-minute webinar with all managers.
Yeah, nice.
So we basically just pull down a report with everyone who has 2 or more people under them in the system, and we invited like 300, 400, 500 people in one webinar just to give them update on what is in the learning offer, why learning is important, and many managers were joining, asking questions. First call was really weird. Nobody was talking. Everyone was silent. Nobody was asking questions. We were like, okay, we look weird. But we repeated it a couple of times, and then we got closer with many managers, and we succeeded spreading this importance and showing them what are we offering, because sometimes they even don't know what is in the offer, and that's why they don't give it high relevance. And just to first step is always spread awareness among them, then answer their questions, and then bring them in and say engage people to learn. Then you don't need to hire new people. People are not running away from you, and so on and so forth. You have a good talent pool, and there are many more advantages. Then they're in. You need to have their buy-in, of course.
True. I know from industry that there are some DAX companies, I mean, big multinational German organizations, where they actually build in learning hours into the goals, annual goals of leaderships. So they actually need to take care because it's part of their plan. And I agree. We need to, make them aware. We need to show them. We need to guide them, help them. But in the end, as you said, it's all about margin in the end and business. And then leaders normally look into facts and figures. And I believe then it's really important to make it part of the plan.
I couldn't agree more. Could go on about this really, but we need to move on to
Let's
our
go.
last statement, which is L&D's hardest job is keeping employees engaged. Do we agree with this or not so much?
It's fun job. It's hard job, but it's fun job. I love my job, and I know that my colleagues in my team also love our job. Why do we love our job? Because we agreed all that it's very important to not only deliver the offer, as we said at the beginning, but show how much joy, fun, and potential is behind this learning offer. And we really believe spreading joy works. We don't do it in a crazy, serious way. We really do it in a funny and very engaging way. We do really crazy activations, nice competitions. We don't take it serious. I had many discussions and exchanges with peers from different companies, also DAX companies, serious companies, companies where you need to come with a tie every day. And they say, no, we cannot do fun by us. No. And I say, no, if you will do fun at your serious organization, people will learn even more, because we are pretty informal. I mean, we are a formal company, we are delivering, but again, our culture is pretty vivid and dynamic. And for us, it's more or less normal that part of HR team is entertaining and inviting you to learn. But I always believe, even in a company with a tie and white shirt, bringing fun and joy into area of learning can give so much footprint, and people will start learning even more. I don't think that there is a company who cannot do it or should not do it. And there is no universal solution. You cannot say, now everyone bring fun into learning. No. You can bring it in different ways. And they all say what to do. And I say, just experiment, try. You can also try smaller things. We also started very small. We started to connect certain e-learnings with certain days like Brain Day or Mental Health Day or whatever day. Or we started to create Topic of the Quarter to bring more relevance. It started really small, but through experimenting, we saw what works and what's not. So that's really fun job. That's why, because it feels like you're a scientist in laboratorium and you're experimenting and trying to put a bit of that and bit
See
of
what
this,
works. What's the
and then
output?
see what works and what doesn't work at all, and what lands, and also what lands by different target groups. Again, please be aware that in every company where you are, there are different target groups. And I keep reminding about that. We even focused a couple of times on men and women. Why not? We also experimented with this. We don't do it anymore because we want to include anyone. But back then, we even did certain learning paths only for women in leadership, or only for men who want to succeed in their job, or whatever. So now we include everyone. Just don't forget there are different personas. And for us was the most exciting to sit and to identify who are these personas in our company. Like, let's see, 5 different personas. Young and just started, senior and has been in the company over 20 years, and couple of other personas. And you need to engage them for learning completely differently.
Absolutely.
I cannot invite a senior persona who is in company over 20 years for Olympics competition. I mean, nice to
try.
have. I mean,
You can
some
try.
some do. But I need to approach this target group differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I need to be German here, because the question was, is it the hardest job?
Is it hard? Is it the hardest?
And I believe it's a very important job. And I would maybe do a football analogy here,
Go for
because
it.
you know, if you have like an average team, but you have, and I mean with team like learning development, material, content, portfolio, let's say, but you have a very good coach, I believe it will be a success, can be a success, right? So coach is then L&D trying to be very important, and like doing whatever you can, right? And if you do it the other way around, probably not work, because then people in the end will not understand where can I find something,
Yeah.
what I said in the beginning, right? But I believe the hardest job for L&D nowadays is, at least to me, to really understand out of all the different offerings out there, when we have the possibilities, because like 20 years ago we had face-to-face, that was it, no? You sent your people to a hotel for a week, be happy.
Can't even imagine.
once a year, no?
Yeah.
Now we have so many different like possibilities, and there's like plenty of thousands of vendors out there. If you speak about hardest job, that's for me the hardest job.
I think that's a very good point,
True.
because I was so ready for us to talk about how nobody wants to make time for learning and it's difficult. But really, the team behind it and what they're offering,
Yeah.
that's really what we're talking about.
I had discussion, very, very fruitful discussion, not like discussion, but talk with my manager this week as well. And we were just brainstorming how to approach evaluation of providers. Alone, this is a separate science at the moment. Even 5 years ago when we all started, we had just a couple of providers on the market. You can count them on 2 hands. Now, to evaluate a provider which you pick for your company, it's such a science. We were sitting and talking which aspect should we look at, how to measure, what is measurable. The tricky part about our job in learning and development is there are many things which you cannot measure.
That's what
We
I was gonna
work on
ask.
human potential, and this is not what you can measure in numbers.
Yeah.
Even the output, the investment which we put, for example, let's imagine we buy certain content from a provider. The investment which you do now in year 2000X, you can see only in year 2000X plus. It's very long run thing. And there are many things which you cannot measure. And in learning and development, since many years, I talk to so many peers in industry. Everyone struggles to find new KPIs. And we are still running, I mean, not at Puma, but in general, while talking to everybody, we are all running around good old KPIs, how many people completed e-learning, how many people attended training, how long was training. That's it. But we cannot measure right after training, what have you learned? What have you taken? Even if we ask people 10 days after training, what have you applied? How do you know what you have applied? Okay, let's ask manager what your employee has applied after training. There is no answer. And that's why our job is so tricky and hard. Indeed. It's like going out of space and stepping onto Mars, trying to understand what things to take for analysis, but you don't know even how to analyze them.
Yeah, it's a big challenge, I see. I mean, how can you start? With that, though, it's unfortunately, we're running out of time. I feel like it went so fast. So to wrap up, I'd like each of you to give me just one thing, if you'd like a listener to just remember one thing from today, what would it be? Big question, I know.
Shall I start with you? Okay. That's actually something I learned in preparing myself for the episode today, because I learned that there is, let's say, kind of a philosophy in Puma or in your team, which is, I believe, hum, sing, and shout.
Yeah.
And that's what that was kind of a preparation then.
Hum, sing, and shout.
I can
sing,
tell
and shout.
you, yeah.
And Polly should explain because it's hers.
I
not
brought
mine.
it with me.
But
yes.
that's my key takeaway.
Okay, then you're going to have to explain it.
Thank you, Oliver,
You're
because
welcome.
I brought it with me and I
You're
was thinking,
welcome.
which question should I bring it in? And
Tell
now I
us.
was like,
Now's the time.
So very briefly, due to the time constraints, so hum, sing, and shout is basically a marketing strategy, and we use it as a team, which is really marketing. So people always should see and hear us in different forms. We don't want to shout the whole time because people will get tired of us and will not take us serious anymore. So that's why, humming, you just on the background. So we are humming the whole time. You can see us everywhere. We embedded our e-learning and training solutions into different HR processes and non-HR processes, onboarding, offboarding, appraisal. You can see our bits and pieces everywhere. It's everywhere. We just
sprinkle it around.
Yes, this is humming. So every day you will see our footprint somewhere, even on the screens in the canteen. People go for eating, but they see our advertisement there. That's humming. Singing, they hear us beautifully singing, but not too loud. That's what we do every quarter, every couple of months. We have top learner recognition. We have some activation to specific topics, like a topic of the quarter or brain day or whatever it can be. And shouting, we do usually once a year or twice a year. It's a big, huge activation with lots of posters, challenges, and so on and so forth. When we even stand in the canteen with our stand, like at the fair, our shirts,
promotions,
with our roll-up banners, and catching people, reaching out to them. I have a loudspeaker even, so I walk around canteen shouting in my loudspeaker. So everyone is thinking, crazy girl is walking around talking about learning again. Twice a year she's doing it. Okay. So
shouting.
It works. Hum, sing, shout, and you're always there wherever they go.
I love it. Thank you. That was great. Hum, sing, and shout. We'll remember that. I'd like to end with my takeaway, which I think is really that you're a service provider. You are supporting your learners, your employees through this whole life cycle like you would with any good customer journey. Thank you so much for joining us today in studio, and thank you to everybody who's tuning in. If you like this episode, please subscribe and share it with somebody else. You might help them move their people forward too. And while you're at it, give us a review because it helps other people find this content. Cheers for now.